Rain. Not the kind that makes you dance or feel romantic, but the kind that pounds the roof like a warning. The kind that turns roads into rivers and secrets into screams. The wipers slapped wildly across the billionaire's black SUV as he sped down the lonely expressway. He was late for a meeting. Angry, cold, tired of life. And then it happened. Splash! His tires hit a large muddy puddle. And he saw something move. At first, he thought it was a log of wood. Then maybe a soaked blanket. But as his headlights hit it, he saw her, lying helplessly by the roadside. Not walking, not standing, not even fully human. Her tail shimmered beneath the rain. Her arms trembled, and her eyes, wide, red, and in pain, locked with his. She wasn't just any woman. She was a mermaid. A pregnant one. And from that moment, his life was no longer his own. Welcome to African Tales by Imadi. Please like, share and subscribe. His name was Kamsi, a 34-year-old billionaire who owned more than 19 properties across Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. To the world, he had everything. Money, power, cars. But what they didn't know was that Kamsi hated miracles. He believed in logic, science, and control. Growing up, he watched his deeply spiritual mother cry every night by the altar. She believed his father had been taken by the marine kingdom. She would whisper to the river, burn candles, pour oil. But in the end, she died, alone. Her last words, "One day, a woman from the waters will return for you." He never forgot it. But he never believed it either. So when Kamsi saw that creature on the road, that woman with a tail, his heart skipped. Not out of fear, but anger. What kind of mad people still do this rubbish in this century? Is this a prank? Are they shooting a movie? He reversed his SUV, got out, slammed his door. Rain slapped his face. His shoes sank into the mud. She didn't say a word. She just looked at him. Her belly was swollen. Her arms hugged her stomach like she was protecting something very precious. "You need help," he shouted. She blinked. She whispered something. It sounded like, "Water hurts." And then, she collapsed. Kamsi panicked. He hadn't touched a woman in years, not out of pride, but fear of curses. But something in him refused to leave her lying in the rain. He opened his back seat, removed his jacket, and with trembling hands, he lifted her, tail and all, into his car. She felt cold, but alive. Her skin shimmered like it had pearls buried beneath it. Where do I take her? Which hospital even accepts this? He remembered his private doctor, Dr. Gideon, the only man who treated him without asking too many questions. When they arrived, Dr. Gideon ran outside with a stretcher and froze. "Kamsi, is this a joke? Just help her, please." Inside, she was connected to machines. But then something strange happened. The ECG monitor was reading no pulse. But she was clearly breathing. Her heart wasn't beating like a human's, it was slower. Like a drum under deep water. The doctor stared. "Kamsi, what exactly did you bring here?" "A woman." "No. This is not just a woman." And just then, the monitors sparked. The lights flickered. The water tank in the hospital burst open. And the woman began to glow. When she woke up the next morning, she was dry, dressed in a hospital gown, and sitting quietly beside a water bottle. She didn't flinch. She didn't panic. She just stared at the bottle, like it hurt her. Kamsi entered. She looked up. "Who are you?" he asked. "Adan," she whispered. "Where are you from?" She shook her head. "Why were you lying in the rain?" Tears welled up in her eyes. She placed her hand on her belly. "Because they want to take my child. And I can't let that happen." Kamsi froze. "Who are they?" She didn't answer. Instead, She looked out the window and whispered a name Kamsi hadn't heard in years. Obianuju. The hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. Outside, the rain had slowed to a soft drizzle, but the storm inside Kamsi's mind hadn't stopped. He stood near the door, one hand in his pocket, the other fiddling with his car key. Odonne sat quietly on the hospital bed, dressed in a clean hospital gown, her long curly wet hair resting on her shoulder like soft ropes. Kamsi cleared his throat. "You're okay now. You're safe. I've settled your bills, Anne. I think this is where our paths end." Odonne blinked slowly, like someone who didn't understand what was being said. "You mean, you're leaving?" Kamsi nodded, his voice firm. "You needed help. I gave it. I don't know who you are or what you are, but I've done my part." She lowered her eyes. "I understand." He hesitated a bit. "Do you have somewhere to go? I can tell my driver to drop you off." "No." Her voice was soft. Final. Kamsi sighed. "Look, I'm not trying to be unkind, but I don't exactly bring strangers into my life." "It's fine," she said again, but her eyes were watery now. "You can drop me anywhere." "Anywhere?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes, even a market. Or a roadside bench. I'll figure it out from there." He scoffed. "Are you serious? You want me to just drop a pregnant woman on the side of the road like a sack of tomatoes?" "It won't be the first time," she whispered. Those words hit him harder than he expected. He stared at her, really stared at her. There was something about this woman. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to seduce him. She looked tired, lost, wounded, but still trying to hold on to her pride. Kamsi exhaled deeply, rubbed the back of his neck. "You know what? Just get in the car." "Where are we going?" "I don't know," he muttered. "But I can't leave you here. Not like this." Kamsi's mansion stood at the end of a quiet estate road, tall and glassy like it was designed for gods. The compound was tiled, silent, and surrounded by flowers that looked too beautiful to touch. As the gate opened, Adan's eyes widened. She sat beside him, still silent, hands resting protectively on her swollen belly. When the car stopped, she didn't move. "Come down," he said. "You're safe here, for now." Adan stepped out slowly. The air smelled like fresh rain and luxury. From the large balcony upstairs, a maid, Kyoma, Kamsi's only domestic staff, peeped down in confusion and shock. "Augur, welcome. Who be this woman?" "Just get a room ready," he said quickly. "And please don't ask too many questions." Inside, the house was modern, cold, and almost empty. No pictures. No feminine touch. Just furniture, screens, and silence. "You live here alone?" Odonne asked softly. "Yes." "Why?" "Because people are complicated." "But you're a good man." Kamsi gave a small laugh, bitter. "That's what they all say, right before they steal from you, lie to you, or sleep with your best friend." Odonne said nothing. She just watched him, really watched him, like she could see beneath the surface. Later that night, while everyone was asleep, Kamsi walked into the living room and then to his backyard to find her sitting by the pool. The backyard had a medium-sized swimming pool surrounded by soft lights. And there she was, her feet dipped in the water, eyes staring at the moon. She didn't move when he approached. "You like water that much?" he asked. "It reminds me of home." She looked up at him. "Yes, home. Far, too far. And too dangerous to return to." Kamsi sat on one of the poolside chairs, still in his shirt and trousers. "Why were you on that road, Odonne?" She took a long breath. "Because I was running." "From who?" "From the people who killed the father of my child." Kamsi turned sharply. "What?" "He was human. I'm not. They didn't want us together. They called it a betrayal, so they killed him." A long silence. "Who are they?" "My family." Kamsi blinked. "What kind of family does that?" One that believes humans are beneath them. I fell in love. I broke a law. Now I'm carrying the child of a dead man. And they want me dead too." Kamsi stared at her, not knowing what to say. She continued, "But when your car splashed water on me, something told me I was safe." "That's not what most people say about me," he muttered. "That's because they don't see you. I do." For the first time in a long while, Kamsi didn't rush to work the next day. He stood by the upstairs window, watching Odonne walk around the compound slowly, holding her belly, eyes exploring everything like a curious child. Something about her softened the air in the house. Later that evening, Kioma approached him.
"Orga, I don't want to talk too much, but that woman, she has something special. She greets me, smile, help me clean even though she's not supposed. She is a good woman, Orga." Kamsi didn't respond. He just stared out the window again. That night he came home tired and late, but something caught his eye as he walked through the backyard. The pool. It was glowing. Not with lights, but with a soft, natural blue shimmer. Like the moonlight had poured itself into the water, and floating gently with her back resting by the edge was Adana, her tail clearly visible. Kamsi stepped back, stunned. Her long hair floated. Her eyes were closed. Her hands held her belly like it was a precious jewel. She heard him. Slowly she turned, and he saw it. Her eyes were glowing faintly. Her skin had a shimmer to it, like sunlight on water. She sat up quickly, covering herself. I didn't know you were home." "It's fine," he said softly. "You don't need to hide." A pause. "You're not afraid?" she asked. "I should be," he said honestly. "But I'm not." Another pause. "Are you angry?" Number. "But I'm confused." "About what?" "About why a woman like you would trust a man like me." She looked down. "Because you didn't see a creature. You saw someone worth saving." Kamsi didn't reply. But that night he sat by the pool until dawn, watching her. And for the first time in 6 years, he felt peace. The morning after the glowing pool incident, Kamsi sat at his breakfast table, flipping through files with furrowed brows. His assistant had just sent updates from 3 of his companies. Deals were pending, board members were complaining, but he wasn't focused. Not because of the files, but because of her. Adana. She was in the guest room across the hall. Quiet, still, mysterious. He hated that he couldn't stop thinking about her, about what he saw, her tail, her glowing eyes, that eerie peace around her. "Focus, Kamsi," he muttered to himself. But then her voice echoed faintly from the hallway. She was laughing. He stood up sharply and opened the door. Adana was helping Kioma fold laundry in the corridor. She wore a long flowing gown, and her wet golden curls rested lightly on her shoulders. She turned, her smile fading when she saw him. "Good morning," she said. "Why are you out of your room?" he asked flatly. Kioma tried to speak, but Kamsi raised a hand. "Adana, I don't need a roommate. I don't need a helper. This house has rules, and one of them is, don't touch anything that doesn't belong to you." Her face fell slowly. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I was just trying to be useful." "If you want to be useful," he said coldly, "stay out of my way." Then he turned and walked back into his room, slamming the door behind him. Inside, he leaned against the door, chest rising and falling. Why was he being so harsh? Because he was scared. Scared that the moment he let someone get close again, they'd destroy him. 2 days later, Nadu, Kamsi's childhood friend and business partner, came to visit. He was the only person Kamsi ever allowed into his personal space. "Guy, you dey hide, oh." Nadu laughed as he stepped into the living room. "Billionaire way, no dey pick call." Kamsi gave a weak smile and poured him a drink. "Been busy." "Busy with what? Money or mystery?" Before Kamsi could answer, they both heard footsteps. Adana walked into the living room from the corridor wearing a soft green dress. Her eyes locked with Nadu's, and for a moment, time stopped. Nadu dropped his glass. It shattered on the floor. "Blood of God," he whispered. "Relax," Kamsi said quickly. "Kamsi, what? What is that?" Nadu's eyes were wide, confused and terrified. Adana looked down shyly. "She's human," Kamsi said firmly. "She just looks different sometimes." "Different? Bro, her skin was glowing. Her eyes, that's not human." "She's pregnant. I found her on the expressway. She was in danger. I helped her. That's all." "And you brought her into your house?" Kamsi stood, his voice hard now. "Are you judging me for helping someone? Since when did that become a crime?" Nadu raised his hands. "I'm not judging you, but you need to be careful. You don't know where she's from or what she's carrying. You're not a priest. You're not a prophet. If this girl is who I think she is, she's not," Kamsi snapped. "She's just a woman running from pain like the rest of us." Adana quietly turned and walked back to her room. That night, as Kamsi sat by his bedroom window, he kept replaying Nadu's words in his mind. "You don't know what she's carrying." He opened his phone, typed into Google, "Can mermaids have human babies?" The search results made his skin crawl. Thunder rolled in the distance as light rain tapped against the glass windows. Kamsi was in the study trying to work, but he couldn't concentrate. He could hear soft footsteps above. Pacing, stopping, then pacing again. Then suddenly, a scream. A sharp, heart-wrenching scream that echoed through the house. Kamsi jumped from his seat and ran upstairs. He burst into Adana's room. She was tossing violently on the bed, drenched in sweat, eyes closed, breathing fast. "No! No, please! Don't take him! He didn't do anything!" Kamsi shook her gently. "Adana, wake up!" Her eyes flew open. She sat up, gasping, trembling all over. "They were here," she whispered. "Who?" "The Watchers. From the deep. They found me." Kamsi looked at her, confused. "What do you mean they found you?" "They traced me. Through water. Through dreams. They know I'm still alive." She began to cry. "They're going to take my child." Kamsi stood unsure of what to say. He wanted to comfort her, wanted to tell her it was just a dream, but something deep in his gut told him it wasn't. "Why don't you go back to the water?" he asked suddenly. Adana wiped her eyes. "Because once I return, I die. I've been marked as a traitor." "Because you fell in love with a human?" he asked, softening. She nodded, "And got pregnant. They believe it taints the bloodline. They don't forgive betrayal." "So they killed him?" "Yes," she whispered. "I saw it. They dragged him into the river. He didn't even scream. Just vanished." Kamsi clenched his fists. He remembered how he used to believe love was foolish. But this woman, she didn't chase love. She paid for it with everything. "I'll make some calls," he said, rising. "You need better protection." "From what?" she asked. "From whatever is chasing you." She looked at him with tired eyes. "You still don't trust me, do you?" "I don't trust anyone," he replied, walking to the door. "But I'm not the kind of man who lets people suffer under his roof." And just like that, he closed the door behind him. 3 days had passed since Adana's terrifying nightmare. Kamsi had returned fully into his usual routine. Early workouts, endless phone calls, meetings, and files. He barely said a word to her. He barely even looked in her direction. Adana stayed in the guest wing of the mansion. Quiet, invisible. But every night the tension in the air grew thicker. And something else was happening. Something even Kioma, the housemaid, couldn't explain. It started with the mirror. Adana was brushing her hair one evening, sitting at the vanity in her room. Kioma had gifted her a floral hair scarf. She smiled gently, remembering a time when she used to wear coral beads in her kingdom, back when she swam through sapphire tides with pride. She looked into the mirror, and her reflection was missing. Not blurry, not faded. Completely gone. She stood, moved side to side. Nothing. The mirror showed the room behind her. The curtains, the pillows, the dresser, but no her. Her heart skipped. She blinked rapidly, reached out to touch the mirror's surface. The moment her fingertips made contact, a crack appeared. Just one line. Thin, silent, and cold. "No, not here too," she whispered. She rushed out, heart pounding. Meanwhile, downstairs, Kamsi was in his study when Kioma walked in, looking deeply unsettled. "Orga? A beg no vex? But that your guest, she dey talk to herself." "Kioma, not now. She say mirror no show her face." Kamsi paused. "What did you say?" "The bathroom mirror. She said it's not showing her." And she ran out like someone who saw a ghost. Kamsi exhaled sharply. He wanted to ignore it, to write it off as another strange incident in an already strange story. But something deep inside refused to let it go. He stood, walked up to her room, knocked. Adana opened the door slowly. Her face was pale. "What happened to the mirror?" he asked. She looked down. "It's a warning. They found me again. They're watching. That's how they show me, that they're near." "Who is they exactly, Adana?" "I thought you are their kind. Why hunting you because you are pregnant for human?" "The Watchers, the priests of the deep, the ones who guard the boundary between the marine world and the human world." Kamsi stared at her, fists clenched. "Are you saying they're inside my house now?" "Not yet, but soon." She moved closer. "The baby inside me carries a piece of both worlds. That's why they want him, to stop a prophecy." "What prophecy?" "That a child born of both bloods would one day unify the realms and break the curse of separation. And they don't want that?" he asked. She looked up at him, tears filling her eyes. "If they get him, they'll kill me. And him? And if you stay close to me, they'll come for you too." Kamsi turned away. "I don't believe in prophecies." "You didn't believe in mermaids either." Silence. "Then maybe you should start." Later that week, Kamsi did something he had been avoiding since the day he brought Adana home. He called another of his very personal doctor, Dr. Tayo, a brilliant man in his 40s who had seen everything, or so he thought. "Tayo, I need you to check on someone, a pregnant woman." "You've got a woman in your house? You? Now I have to come." An hour later, Dr. Tayo arrived, briefcase in hand, dressed in a crisp shirt. Kamsi introduced them. Adana, who had already changed into human before stepping out, smiled politely and sat on the bed as the doctor prepared his equipment. "How many weeks along are you, madam?" the doctor asked. "I'm not sure." He raised a brow. "Okay, let's check." He placed the stethoscope on her belly. Nothing abnormal. Then he reached for the portable ultrasound machine and began scanning. Then he frowned. Kamsi sat up straighter. "What is it?" Dr. Tayo didn't answer immediately. He pressed the scanner harder, slid it again, changed angles. Then he removed the gel, sat back, and stared at the screen. "Kamsi, this isn't normal." "What do you mean?" "The baby's heartbeat. It doesn't sound human. It's slower, deeper, almost like it's vibrating through water." "Is the baby in danger?" Adana asked calmly. "No, it's perfectly healthy. But I've never seen anything like this." He looked at her. "What exactly are you?" Adana said nothing. Dr. Tayo looked at Kamsi, panic creeping into his voice. "Bro, what are you doing with her in this house? This baby, this pregnancy? This isn't ordinary." "Tayo," Kamsi said firmly, "just give me the facts. Is the baby fine?" "Yes." "Then leave everything else to me." The doctor stood slowly, packed his things, and whispered on his way out, "I don't know what you're protecting, but I hope you're ready to pay the price." 2 nights later, something strange happened. It was around 8:30 p.m. Kamsi was in the kitchen grabbing a late snack, while Adana was sitting outside by the pool, quietly stroking her belly and whispering an old lullaby in her native mermaid tongue. Then the security alarm buzzed. Kioma ran in. "Orga! Somebody dey gate. He say he dey look for you." Did he say his name? He say he be water seller. Water seller? At night? Kamsi narrowed his eyes. He walked to the screen monitor that showed the gate camera feed. A man stood there, tall, skinny, dark-skinned, wearing torn trousers and no shirt. He had one crooked eye, like it had rolled away from its socket. Kamsi pressed the intercom. "What do you want?" The man smiled slowly. "Olga, I bring you purest water for your new visitor." Kamsi's heart stopped. "What did you say?" The man laughed, but not with joy, with something darker. "Tell the one who sleeps in your guest room that her father misses her." Then, the camera glitched, his image distorted, and when the screen returned to normal, the man was gone. No footsteps, no sound, nothing, just empty air. Kamsi ran outside. Adana was still by the pool, but her eyes were closed tightly. "Adana!" She turned, her voice shaky. "They sent someone, didn't they?" "How did you know?" "Because I felt my name being whispered in the wind. And only one man does that." "Who?" She looked up. "My father, the ruler of the Eastern Sea." Kamsi sat slowly beside her, disbelief washing over him. She turned to him with tears in her eyes. "I'm the daughter of a kingdom that doesn't forgive. It began with dreams. Not ordinary ones, but dreams filled with shadows, fire, and whispers." Kamsi had started dreaming of drowning. Not in water, but in deals gone wrong, in betrayal, in the weight of enemies whose names he didn't even know. Every morning he'd wake up with a stiff neck and a sense of suffocation, but that Tuesday morning was different. He sat at the head of a large mahogany table inside one of his companies. KS Holdings, a tech-driven real estate firm. Seated across from him were two top executives and one of his fiercest business competitors. A man named Chief Olatundi, a snake in expensive Agbada. The meeting was about a major land acquisition deal worth 4.6 billion naira. On paper, it was perfect. But beneath the polished words, Chief Olatunde was hiding a sword. Midway through the meeting, Kamsi's body began to itch badly. Not mosquito-level itching, deep, sudden, unbearable. Like fire was dancing inside his skin. He tried to hide it, clenching his fists under the table. Then came the heat. His shirt soaked instantly. Sweat dripped down his face. His vision blurred. The room spun. "Excuse me," he muttered and stood, rushing toward the hallway restroom. He slammed the door and gripped the sink, panting. Then he saw it. His reflection, his face, was changing. Dark veins crawling up his neck like vines. His eyes turning red. Poison. Somebody had tampered with his drink. He staggered to the wall, fell to the floor, and then it happened. The sink burst open. Water exploded from the tap, flooded the tiles, and from it, he heard a voice. Not today. It was her voice. Adan, invisible, echoing. Suddenly, the veins on his neck began to vanish. His skin cleared, his body relaxed. He gasped, opened his eyes, and stared at the soaked floor in disbelief. Somehow, she had saved him. Again. Without being there. Back at home, Adana sat by the pool, her eyes closed, her hand on her belly, her lips moving in a silent chant. The water in the pool had turned still, like it was listening. Kioma came running out, phone in hand. Madam, Orga just called me. He said he collapsed, but he's okay now." Adana opened her eyes slowly. "They tried again?" "Who tried?" She didn't answer. Instead, she looked up at the sky and whispered, "He is marked now, not just to protect me, but to fulfill something bigger than he knows." 2 nights later, it began. Adana's contractions came in waves, like the tide pulling and crashing within her. She was lying in bed when her stomach tightened, then loosened, then tightened again. "Orga Kamsi!" Kioma shouted from upstairs. He ran up, chest pounding. Adana was groaning now, her hands gripping the sheets. "It's time," she whispered. Time for what? The child. Kamsi's heart nearly jumped out of his chest. You mean you're now? Here? There's no other place, she said calmly. He called Doctor Tayo immediately. Doc, please, now don't ask questions, just come. 35 minutes later, Dr. Tayo arrived, briefcase in hand, this time with an assistant midwife. The room was dimly lit. A bowl of water had been placed at each corner of the room, on Adana's request. This isn't a normal delivery, she warned. The baby has to enter this world in peace, or they'll find us again. The labor lasted 5 long hours. Adana didn't scream, she didn't shout. She sang, an ancient melody. Her voice filled the house. Even the fish in the backyard pool began to swim in circles. The air in the house became heavy, mysterious. And then, at exactly 3:14 a.m., the baby arrived. A boy. Strong. Quiet. Then, a loud cry so sharp it shook the windows. His eyes, glowing faintly like blue fireflies, but only for a moment. Then he blinked. Human again. Dr. Tayo stared, stunned. This child, Kamsi, he's not ordinary. Kamsi held the boy, small, warm, light as a feather, but carrying something big. Welcome, Kamsi whispered. You're safe now. From the corner, Adana smiled weakly. He will bring you more than you ever imagined. It was a sunny afternoon 2 weeks after the child was born. Kamsi was in his Lekki office, standing before the board of directors. Everyone was clapping. His latest business merger had just pushed his net worth above $400 million. He should have been thrilled, but something felt off. As he walked into the restroom after the meeting, he overheard 2 voices whispering in the staff corridor. I'm telling you, they've planted the charm under his seat already. He won't last the next board session. Are you sure the Babalawo said 3 days? 3 days max. After that, he'll be coughing blood. Kamsi didn't flinch. He didn't shout. He simply stepped back, returned to his office, and dialed Kioma at home. Is Adana awake? Yes, sir. She day by the pool, breastfeeding the baby. That evening, Kamsi returned home just as the sun was setting. He opened the door and paused. There was a bowl of water in the middle of his living room. Floating inside it were ashes and glowing blue leaves. Adana sat beside it, eyes closed, chanting softly. They planted something under your seat today, but I've returned it. How do you even know? He asked, stepping back, shaken. She opened her eyes. Because I go with you, even when you think I'm here. He stepped forward. Why didn't you use this power to save the man you loved before? She froze. A long silence followed. Then she stood and walked toward him, tears in her eyes. Because he didn't fight for me. Because he let them take him. Because love without sacrifice is just a feeling. But you fought me. You resisted me. You avoided me. But you never abandoned me. She looked deep into his eyes. That's why I saved you. Kamsi felt something tear inside him, something hard, cracked. And then he did something he hadn't done in years. He hugged her, silently, tightly. He didn't say a word, but his heart screamed what his mouth couldn't. It began with her laugh. Not the forced one. Not the polite smile she gave Kioma, or the shy chuckle when Kamsi asked her if she needed anything. This laugh was real. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. The baby was lying in his tiny cot beside the pool. Kioma had stepped out to buy baby wipes, and Kamsi, well, he wasn't supposed to be home, but he canceled his meeting. He stood by the sliding glass door, arms folded, watching her without realizing it. Adana sat on a towel beside the cot, telling her baby a story from the sea. Her voice was soft, joyful, musical. And then the little crab told the fish, "If you swim in circles again, I'll tell Mama Shark." She laughed. The baby giggled, or something close to it. His eyes sparkled, and for a second, the pool water behind them rippled, even though there was no wind. Kamsi smiled. Then his face dropped, because suddenly he realized something. He had stopped thinking of her as that woman he helped. He now saw her as something more, a protector, a mother, a miracle, and a woman he couldn't stop watching. "Kamsi," he whispered to himself. "Don't go there." But he already had. He was falling, and he knew it. That evening, as he ate alone in the dining room, he found himself staring at his phone. He wasn't reading emails. He wasn't checking business reports. He was looking at a photo he had secretly snapped of Adane holding the baby, smiling. "Why do I feel this way?" he muttered. "Is it because she saved me? Or because I finally found someone who makes this cold house feel alive again?" He didn't have answers. But deep inside, he knew. He didn't want to imagine life without her anymore. But how do you love a mermaid? 3 weeks later, Kamsi's company was nominated for a major international real estate award. He was invited to Paris to give a speech. Everything was set: ticket, suit, speech draft. Except one thing: his heart wasn't ready to leave. On the morning of his departure, he stood by the pool again. Adana was there, as always, gently rocking the baby in a woven carrier. "You're leaving," she said quietly. "Just for 3 days." She nodded. "That's long." He looked at her. "Will you miss me?" She paused, then nodded again. "But you won't say it, will you?" "I don't have to." "You'll feel it." Silence hung between them like unspoken music. "Adane," he said, "can I ask you something crazy?" She raised her eyes gently. "What would happen if I took you to a restaurant?" "A restaurant?" "Yes, in public, in town, with humans all around." She smiled faintly. "They would stare." "Because of your skin?" "Yes." "Because of your tail?" She chuckled. "That too. So how can I take you anywhere? How do I tell people that I'm in love with a woman whose skin glows like sea glass when she's near water?" She turned slowly. "You're in love with me?" His eyes widened. He hadn't planned to say it, but the words were out, raw, honest. "Yes. And I hate myself for it. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what the world would say, but it's there, and it's real." She looked down, then said softly, "Then maybe it's time." "Time for what?" She walked into the pool, slowly, gracefully. The water rippled around her ankles, her baby safely asleep on a blanket beside the pool. She raised her arms gently, and a soft blue light rose from the water. Kamsi stepped back, startled. "Adane?" And then, before his eyes, the shimmer on her skin began to fade. Her tail dissolved beneath her. Her features softened. Her legs reappeared. Her eyes remained bright, but now fully human. Her voice was calm. "I can stay like this, permanently, but only when I know I am safe and loved." "You can do this?" "Yes." "Forever?" "Yes." He walked closer, his voice a whisper. "You're beautiful. I always was. You just couldn't see past the waves." Kamsi returned from Paris. But the award didn't matter. The press didn't matter. The applause didn't matter. What mattered was who he was coming home to. That night, he didn't go upstairs. He didn't sit in the living room. He stood by the pool again, where she now sat, fully human, dressed in a simple blue gown, brushing her long black curls. "Adana." "Yes?" "I need to say this out loud. Properly." She turned to him slowly. "I don't know what the world will say. I don't care what they'll call me. But I know who I've become since the day I splashed water on you." He walked closer. "You make my house feel like a home. You make our son feel safe. You make me believe again." She blinked. "Kamsi?" He stepped even closer, voice shaking. "I love you. Not because you saved me, not because you're beautiful, but because you never left, even when I tried to push you away." Silence. Then she whispered, And I love you because you saw me when I was invisible, and you gave me a chance when I didn't even ask. He leaned in, slowly, carefully, their foreheads touched, and for the first time, ever, Kamsi kissed her. Not the kind of kiss that says thank you, not the kind of kiss that says goodbye, but the kind that says, I'm home. 1 year later, Lagos had never seen anything like it. The once cold, emotionless billionaire Kamsi Udeze walked into a charity gala with his wife by his side, Adana, glowing in a fitted wine dress, her full hair in soft curls and her eyes sparkling like early morning rain. And beside them, a 1-year-old boy bouncing in Kamsi's arms, laughing at everything and nothing. The press were stunned. Everyone whispered, "She's the one who lives in that mansion." The mysterious woman he never lets anyone near. Do you know they say he almost died last year and she saved him? But Kamsi didn't care. He had learned to live outside the world's expectations. And this night wasn't about rumors. It was about legacy. The gala raised over 500 million naira for pregnant teenage girls abandoned in rural areas, an initiative started by Adana Foundation, a name Kamsi gave in honor of her quiet strength. That night, on stage, for the first time ever, Kamsi said publicly, "The woman beside me once had no place to go. But today, she has built shelter for over 200 mothers. She didn't just change my life, she saved it." Adana's eyes filled with tears, and in that room filled with cameras and billionaires, they kissed. No shame, no fear, no tale, just two people in love. 5 years later, their home was no longer cold and silent. It was filled with noise, joyful, sweet, chaotic noise. Children ran across the tiled hallway. The first child, now 5, had inherited his mother's spiritual eyes. The second child, a girl named Amarachi, had dimples so deep that every smile made you laugh. And the third, still a baby, had already shown signs of hearing things others couldn't. Adana had adjusted perfectly to life on land. Her skin no longer shimmered when she was near water. Her feet were strong, her back upright, her smile wide. But sometimes, just before rain, she would walk barefoot into the garden, close her eyes and let the wind tell her secrets from the sea. Kamsi would sit at the patio, coffee in hand, watching her with admiration. He was no longer just a billionaire. He was a father, a husband, a man who once helped a pregnant stranger in the rain and was rewarded with the greatest love story ever told. Sometimes, the people we are quick to ignore, insult, or walk past are the very people sent to change our lives forever. The world teaches us to look for beauty in suits, gowns, and titles, but true miracles often come in mud, rain, pain, or silence. Never let a moment of kindness pass, because you may be entertaining an angel or a mermaid. Wow, what a story. From a muddy expressway on a rainy day to a home filled with love, laughter, and legacy. Dear viewer, what would you have done if you saw someone like Adana on the roadside? Would you drive past, or would you stop like Kamsi did? He splashed water on her, not knowing she was a pregnant mermaid, is a reminder that the people we rescue might be the ones sent to rescue us. If this story touched you, made you cry, gave you goosebumps, or even made you feel love again, leave us a comment below. What was your favorite moment? Would you fall in love with a mermaid? And don't forget, if you want more heart-melting, magical African folk tales like this, subscribe to this channel, like this video. And if you've ever dreamed of starting your own storytelling channel, check the description for how to reach me. Until next time, keep your heart open. You never know who you'll meet on a rainy day.
Thank you so much for watching, beautiful family. I'll see you in the next story. Bye, guys.